They won't say it out loud, but they're watching you. The younger generation, with their headphones in and eyes locked on glowing screens, they're watching every move you make, not with open admiration, not with words of praise. No, respect in their world is silent. It's tested, not given, earned, not demanded. And the moment you try to command it without proving it, it vanishes like smoke. Respect today doesn't arrive wrapped in titles or age or gray hairs. It arrives through presence, through energy, through authenticity. The youth do not kneel to tradition. They rise for truth. They listen to action, not lectures. And they follow courage, not control. And if you want to be respected by them, if you want to have a voice in their world, then you must become more than just a memory of who you used to be. You must become a force of who you are now. There is no shortcut to being respected. The younger generation is immune to pretense. They've grown up in a world that filters through fakes and calls it out with hashtags. They don't care what you say if what you do contradicts it. They're allergic to hypocrisy and magnetic toward authenticity. So don't try to act younger. Don't try to speak their slang or copy their style. That only shows them you've forgotten the power of your own story. What they truly seek is someone who has walked through the fire and still stands tall, not pretending the heat wasn't real, but showing that it forged steel instead of scarred. Do you want their respect? Then give them something to rise toward. Let your discipline be louder than your advice. Let your kindness thunder louder than your judgment. Let your growth be your legacy. Because they don't need perfect. They need proof that struggle doesn't have to destroy, that life doesn't have to harden, that wisdom is not a relic, but a revolution. Thomas Edison wasn't young when he changed the world. He failed over 10,000 times, and when asked about it, he didn't talk about failure. He spoke of learning. That's what the youth crave. Not old knowledge, but ancient fire. The kind that says, I've fallen, I've lost, but I never stayed down. If you carry that fire, they'll feel it. And when they do, they won't question your relevance. They'll crave your presence. But respect does not come from being right. It comes from being real. You have to listen more than you talk. Ask more than you tell. And when they speak, don't dismiss them. Don't mock the changes. Don't fear the evolution. Every generation brings a new note to the song of progress. If you try to silence their rhythm, you'll miss the symphony entirely. And yet this isn't about appeasing them. It's about aligning with what is timeless. Purpose, integrity, vision, these don't expire. These don't fade. Henry Ford once said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. But Ford gave them a vision they couldn't see yet. That's what leaders do. That's what elders do when they remember who they are. So stop begging to be heard and start becoming someone worth listening to. You want to connect with the younger generation. Be so alive in your mission that they wonder where you found the spark. Be so relentless in your growth that they can't ignore your energy. Be so humble in your wisdom that they feel safe to rise beside you, not under you. And never underestimate the power of presence, because while the world is screaming for attention, the ones who truly influence are those who listen with intensity and lead with love. Leadership isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's not about domination. It's about invitation. It's saying, I've seen the darkness, and I chose light anyway. Follow me if you dare. When you live that way, the young won't just respect you. They'll carry your legacy forward willingly. It begins with mindset. Not theirs, yours. You cannot lead a generation if you secretly resent them. If you think they're lazy or lost or soft, then all your advice will carry the stench of contempt. And no one listens to a voice that drips with disappointment. You must cleanse yourself of judgment, wipe the slate clean, and instead of asking, what's wrong with this generation, ask, what do they need me to become? You are not here to drag them back to your past. You are here to help them launch into their future. That requires clarity. Clarity of who you are, clarity of your purpose, clarity of your standards. Respect isn't earned through volume. It's earned through vision. Do you have one? Are you still building, still creating, still learning? If not, why should they follow you? Disney never stopped dreaming, even after being told he lacked imagination. Carnegie never stopped building, even when the world called him ruthless. Lincoln carried scars the youth could never imagine, but he led anyway, not with ego, but with example. The youth crave a model, not a mirror. They don't need you to reflect their language or copy their trends. They need you to embody strength wrapped in humility, fire wrapped in grace, vision wrapped in patience. Be that. And they will follow. Discipline is the next language they understand. not the rigid kind that punishes, but the devoted kind that builds. They're not looking for someone who never falters. They're watching to see how you respond when the world crumbles around you. Do you lose your center? Do you collapse into chaos? Or do you rise steady and begin rebuilding again? Discipline is not about control. It's about alignment. It's waking up with intention. It's doing what needs to be done, not because someone told you to, but because your soul demands it. The younger generation watches closely for this, not in what you preach, but in how you carry yourself when no one's applauding, when the lights are off, when it's just you and the grind. That's where true respect is born, in the unseen hours. You want to earn their attention, then master your own patterns. Wake up with purpose, speak with conviction, move with precision. Discipline is magnetic, and in a world obsessed with instant gratification, the one who delays the impulse becomes the beacon of something lost and needed. But discipline without heart is a prison. That's where purpose steps in. Purpose isn't a slogan or a 5-step plan. It's the echo in your bones that refuses to be silenced. It's the thing that makes your suffering sacred, that transforms your past into power. When the youth see someone who moves with purpose, they feel it. Even if they don't understand it yet, they're drawn to it because it whispers to the part of them still forming their identity. Walt Disney didn't just draw cartoons. He built worlds. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just give speeches. He stirred the conscience of a generation. Purpose doesn't need credentials. It needs commitment. When you move with unwavering purpose, the younger generation sees not an old man or woman. They see a lighthouse in a storm, and they will cling to your light in ways they'll never say out loud. But don't mistake purpose for perfection. They don't respect your flawlessness. They respect your fight, your resilience, your ability to fall and rise over and over. That's where the true connection lies, in the cracks, in the broken pieces you refuse to abandon. When they see that you faced darkness and chose not to become it, they begin to believe they can do the same. And from purpose comes action, because intention without movement is just decoration. The youth are drowning in words. What they crave is demonstration. They want to see you building, creating, trying, failing, recovering. They want to see life lived fully, not safely. Be the elder who still swings the hammer, who still starts the fire, who still dares to dream at an age when others have gone silent. When you act with boldness, they respect your courage. When you stand for something, they respect your backbone. And when your actions match your words, they respect your integrity. It's that simple and that rare. But no action is sustainable without gratitude. And this is the part they rarely see modeled. The quiet power of being thankful, not performative and not platitude, but deep marrow-level gratitude for the pain that taught, for the lessons that broke and rebuilt, for the chance to lead not from above, but from within. Gratitude turns elders into giants. It makes your presence feel safe, not oppressive. It creates space for the young to grow beside you, not beneath you. It shifts your energy from demanding respect to earning it by radiating peace. When you're grateful, you stop comparing generations. You stop clinging to how things used to be. You begin planting seeds in soil you may never stand on. And that is legacy. Adaptability is the next step. Because the river doesn't rage against the rock. It moves around it. It finds a new path. That's what great leaders do. They don't become rigid. They become water, able to flow through change, through disruption, through evolution, without losing their essence. The youth respect adaptability. They live in a world that changes by the second. If you're still clinging to the past, they'll leave you behind. But if you adapt, if you evolve, if you stay curious instead of critical, they'll open the door for you again and again. Remember, the oak tree is strong, but it breaks in a storm. The reed bends and survives. Flexibility is not weakness, it's wisdom. And when the younger generation sees you changing with grace, they realize you're not a relic, you're a guide. And that is powerful. Resilience is the anchor. You've seen things they haven't. You've endured storms they're only beginning to feel. But don't wear your survival as a crown. Offer it as a torch. Share your scars, but not with bitterness. Tell your stories, but not as warnings, as waypoints. Let them know that strength isn't about avoiding pain, but transforming it. That courage isn't about never doubting, it's about walking anyway. When you live this truth, your presence becomes medicine, your voice becomes prophecy, your silence even becomes sacred. Learning is your final frontier. Because the moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. And the youth can smell death in spirit. They can tell when someone has closed the door on growth. If you want their respect, keep learning, ask questions, explore. Let your mind be as open as your heart. Show them that wisdom doesn't mean knowing everything. It means being hungry for more. That humility isn't weakness. It's the gateway to mastery. And when they see that you're still learning, still growing, still burning, they will not just respect you, they will revere you. They revere those who refuse to decay in mind just because the body ages. They revere those who evolve with grace, who challenge their own beliefs, who look at the world with wonder instead of judgment. Because the greatest lesson you can teach them is that life doesn't peak in youth, it deepens. The ones they respect most are not those who talk the loudest or demand attention. They are those who live with quiet certainty. The ones who have fought battles, not to boast about them, but to offer maps to those still caught in the fog. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be awake, present, on fire with something larger than yourself. The younger generation has no use for hollow heroes. They don't want your trophies. They want your truth. They want to know how you made it through your lowest moments, not just how high you climbed. They want to know what broke you and what rebuilt you. And they want to know it without filters, without pride, without performance. When you give them that, you don't just earn their respect, you earn their trust. And trust is more valuable than admiration. Trust creates bridges that carry legacy. Do not fear their questions. Do not be threatened by their rebellion. That fire you see in them, it was once in you, maybe buried now, maybe quiet, but it's there. And when you stop trying to smother their flames and instead use your own coals to light the path, something magical happens. Generations align, not in conflict, but in rhythm. Respect from the young is not inherited, it's ignited. It happens when you stop trying to be understood and start trying to understand. When you don't just tolerate their dreams, but empower them. When you don't just critique their ways, but invite their perspectives. Because the future is not theirs alone, it's ours together. If you're willing to meet them at the edge of it, with open hands, open eyes, and an open heart. Let your story be a river, not a monument. Let it flow into their world. Let it nourish, let it shape, let it teach. And above all, let your example speak louder than your opinion. Because long after your words fade, long after your time has passed, they will remember how you made them feel. Not the lectures, not the correction, but the quiet strength you embodied, the dignity in your struggle, the fire in your calm. They will remember if you made them feel small or if you made them feel capable. Guys, they will remember if you dismissed them or if you believed in them before they believed in themselves. And if you choose the latter, you become something more than just respected. You become a foundation, a whisper that becomes their inner voice, a shadow that becomes their shelter, a name that becomes their guidepost. This is how you lead the next generation, not with dominance, but with depth, not with volume, but with vision. They are watching you every day, every word, every silence. Let them see a human on fire with purpose, a warrior who bows to no fear, but who kneels to truth, a teacher who listens, a leader who learns, a soul who never stops becoming. And in return, they will give you something more powerful than applause. They will carry you forward in their minds, in their memories, in the choices they make when you're no longer there to guide them. That is the ultimate respect. And it begins not tomorrow, not next year, but now, with who you choose to be today. So choose wisely, because every moment is a mirror, every breath a message. Whether you speak or stay silent, the younger generation is absorbing your essence, the way you handle pressure, the way you respond to failure, the way you treat the invisible, the forgotten, the weak. These moments, they don't fade, they imprint. You think they're distracted? Maybe, but they are still learning from you. And if your actions say, I've given up, if your posture screams, the best is behind me, then you become a cautionary tale, not a compass. You fade into the background, not because of your age, but because you stopped evolving. Do not let your age become a coffin. Let it become a crown, not a symbol of rulership, but of responsibility, of lived wisdom, of quiet strength earned in years, not stolen in shortcuts. The world has no shortage of opinions, no shortage of noise, What it's starving for is presence, deep grounded, unwavering presence, the kind that walks into a room and calms it, the kind that doesn't need to argue because it already is, the kind that carries a frequency higher than fear, stronger than doubt. That presence, you can become it, but it will cost you. It will cost your excuses. It will cost your outdated pride. It will cost your addiction to being right, your habit of control, your fear of being irrelevant. You must be willing to burn what no longer serves you. The bitterness, the comparison, the resentment. Only then will what's real emerge. Only then will the light in you become visible again. Because you were never meant to fade, you were meant to evolve. You were meant to shift from the warrior to the guide, from the builder to the architect, from the storm to the sky. The younger generation doesn't need a critic. They need a North Star, a map drawn in truth, not ego, a mirror that doesn't reflect flaws, but possibility. So show them what's possible. Show them that peace can roar louder than pride. That vulnerability is a form of strength. That discipline can be soft, and softness can be unshakable. Show them that being respected is not about having all the answers. It's about living the right questions. Show them how to fail with grace, to lose with purpose, to stand without applause, to give without needing to be seen. Let your life be a classroom, not a courtroom. Let your wisdom be an offering, not a lecture. Let your legacy be written not in achievements, but in awakenings. Because the truth is, they don't need your perfection. They need your permission to be fully human, to feel deeply, to rise relentlessly, to become more than the world ever told them they could be. And if you can give them that, if you can live in a way that invites them to see themselves, then you have done the impossible. You have earned their respect. Not through fear, not through force, but through fire. A fire that never stopped burning, even when no one was watching, even when it looked like the world had moved on, even when everything in you said, it's too late, you chose to rise anyway. And in doing so, you lit the path for those still trying to find their feet in the dark. That's what real respect looks like. It isn't loud, it isn't demanded, it's felt. And when it's real, it never fades. It becomes the silent bond between generations, a torch passed from soul to soul, a bridge built between time and truth. And it begins with you, right here, right now. Live in a way that earns it, speak in a way that reflects it, lead in a way that inspires it. And when the younger generation looks up, they won't just see you. They'll follow, not because they have to, not because they were told, but because something deep inside them remembers you, remembers the fire you kept alive when the world went cold, remembers the way your silence spoke louder than empty words, remembers the way you stood, not above them, but beside them, and in that memory, they will carry you forward. Because you didn't ask for respect, you became it. You turned your life into a living testament. A story not of arrival, but of endurance. Of a soul that didn't rust with age, but sharpened. Of a spirit that didn't fade, it evolved. And they will remember. In the moments when their own world begins to crack, they will remember how you handled yours. When they are lost in noise, they will recall your calm. When they feel weak, they'll echo your resilience. And when they wonder if they are enough, they'll draw strength from the quiet certainty you left behind. You didn't need to shout because the truth lives in energy, not volume. And your energy, it told the truth. That age is not limitation. That growth has no finish line. That relevance doesn't come from trend, but from timelessness. They saw it in you, not because you preached it, but because you lived it. Every day, every choice, every breath, and maybe they never said it. Maybe they never had the words. But one day, when they stand where you once stood, when their hair turns gray and their reflection begins to change, they will hear your voice echo, not in their ears, but in their character. They will remember that wisdom doesn't age. It awakens. And they will respect you, not just as someone they once knew, but as a piece of themselves they carry forward. That's the real legacy. Not wealth, not fame, but influence. Invisible, indestructible, eternal. So live now, knowing that every moment you choose truth over ego, presence over pride, growth over comfort. You shape not just your story, but theirs. And one day, when they face the very storms that once threatened you, they will stand unshaken because you showed them how, not by telling them, not by demanding respect, but by becoming it. And becoming it means you never stop becoming. It means you don't retreat into the shadows when the world feels unfamiliar. It means you don't guard your wisdom like a possession. You pour it like water into thirsty ground. Because respect doesn't belong to the past. It's not something you earned once and now simply possess. It is a living currency earned daily through presence, humility, and contribution. And the youth? They are the mirror. They will show you what you reflect, not what you say you are, but who you truly are. So if what you see in them frustrates you, look deeper. Maybe it's a call to evolve. Maybe it's an invitation to sharpen your vision, to soften your approach, to rise again, not as a relic of what was, but as a mentor for what's coming. Remember, steel sharpens steel. They do not need someone to coddle them. They do not need someone who pities them. They need someone who believes in them with a standard. Someone who sees their potential and calls it out, not with shame, but with expectation. You are that someone. But only if you choose to be. Only if you walk with integrity even when no one watches. Only if you hold yourself to the standard you ask of others. Only if you allow your past to be a launch pad, not a prison. The great ones, Carnegie, Roosevelt, Eleanor Mandela, they didn't rest on reputation. They let their every season reveal a new layer of leadership, but they were never finished. They stayed in the arena, and because of that, generations didn't just read about them, they rose because of them. That same spirit lives in you. You have something the young desperately need. But it must be delivered with honor, not arrogance. With patience, not pressure. With fire, not force. Let them see your fire. Let them feel your peace. Let them witness your strength, not just in the victories you've claimed, but in the pain you've transformed. Because that's where the real connection is built, in the shared humanity. In the unspoken understanding that life has tested you too, and you're still here, still becoming, still believing, still bold enough to shape the world even when your hands carry the tremble of time. Let that be your message. Not respect me because I'm older, but follow me because I never stopped becoming. Because when they see that age didn't extinguish your fire, but deepened it, when they see that wisdom didn't harden you, but humbled you, when they see that growth wasn't a chapter in your story, but the heartbeat of it, then you become more than a void. You become a present, and that is unshakable. That is unforgettable. That is respected. And that kind of respect, the kind earned in the silence between generations, it echoes. It doesn't just linger in memory, it reshapes it. It doesn't just influence, it instructs. Because the younger generation isn't looking for heroes carved in stone. They're looking for mentors forged in fire. People who bleed but still build. Who stumble yet still stand. People who don't just talk about values, they embody them. That's how you teach without preaching. That's how you lead without pushing. That's how you inspire without trying. It happens when your character speaks in rooms your voice never enters. When your presence becomes proof that aging doesn't cause dull power, it refines it. But to reach that level, you must let go of the illusion that you've arrived. The truth is, you're still becoming. You are still clay in the hands of time. And every day is still carving, still shaping, still revealing who you truly are. The young do not expect you to be perfect, and they expect you to be real, to be raw, to be unafraid of your truth, to own your mistakes with the same passion you own your wisdom, to be bold enough to say I was wrong, and strong enough to show them how you made it right. That's what they respect, not dominance and not ego, but courage wrapped in humility. And make no mistake, humility is not weakness. It is the weapon of the wise. It is the language of the lasting. It is the door through which every generation eventually walks. So hold that door open, not with lectures, with your life.